I think it's probably digital for all of us. Wow. They'll have to. So,
Justin,
yeah, really suggested. I don't know.
Oh, you did good.
you made it for
Good point.
Join me.
Thanks for everybody.
What's that?
The recording, thanks for everybody.
Yes, it does.
Or much in here.
Details for the Gary Gray home in the packet, because I didn't see them.
No, they're not packed in my report.
Oh, okay.
And they're consistent with what we said when we talked about it at budget time.
Okay, I was looking for something.
Oh, you just added more parameters, is that what you did?
It just wasn't said, the very details are not laid out in the motion. Approval. It was just to hire May. So I need a roll.
Do anything or you got it?
We're good. Adam fixed the connector this morning.
The whole table. You know, usually join.
I didn't make it home in time for dinner tonight.
No food for you.
Yeah. Do you need? You get on that one.
Oh.
I don't want to do that one.
Did you get one there?
I'm good.
I can't remember the food.
Yeah, it's born on May 28th.
Any sleep?
About 5 hours or so.
Did you get one?
Pleasant, normal day for me.
Right?
Thank you.
Remember the dogs we have.
Yeah, I got that. I gotta show that photo here.
Pictures.
What do you weigh?
What's that?
What do you weigh?
3 pounds, 3 ounces.
Oh, that's beautiful. Is he home now? Or is he-
Yeah, yeah, he came home on Saturday.
Oh, that's even
Let's
worse.
see how big the best player is.
Oh. Tiny. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
He'll do just fine.
he's up, that was how much he weighed. He's up to 3 pounds, 13 ounces.
All right, we stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, and congratulations to Matt on becoming a father about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
First order of business is approval of the minutes from the May 25th meeting.
Did you make the one correction that I sent?
I didn't see, I didn't know that there was anyone else besides just.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember what was it. Spoke before him. If we're gonna-
Was it the EV? Was it about the EV
Yeah.
charging station?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right, so then I will have to make that, I'll have to add, I have to go back because I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
It was EV stations and it was something else before that, I believe. I watched it to make sure I was right
So it
before
was
I
just the
sent
one
that.
person
Yeah.
that- okay.
I think if
All
you're
right, so
gonna
just add
refer it to that, you don't have to put any names. I think if you just,
Go back to the video.
if we're reading it,
And I'll just take, I'll take those off.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so with that.
So if you agree to take that up, I'll move that we can, with that correction.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, in terms of my report, water level today is actually 246.88. We went down, we might come back up in the rain this week. We went down a lot faster than they forecast we would go down, so hopefully that's not an indication of the summer we're gonna have.
Yeah,
Although the NOAA forecast does call for a hot dry summer. So we'll see. Verizon Tower is operational. And few people that have said anything are all getting better service. It does not impact people with AT&T and anybody, any phone carrier that does not use the Verizon name. It's a Verizon Tower. Our Sea grant for studying the 3 potential community peer locations. The contract has been received and signed with Matt's approval, and an RFQ to identify the interested firms is being drafted, and we'll get that out when it's done, and then bring the responses here for our review. Last meeting, we approved a fence contractor for Mark Jones Senior Park. He's been notified, and we expect that he will be here soon. Last week, I attended the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative General Meeting, which was in Chicago. On Tuesday, we toured the Chicago water plant, which is massive, and they produce 1.4 billion gallons a day for consumption. It was unbelievable. More importantly, there were several workshops on creating your climate smart plan, some of which we've done. They call it climate action in New York State. We call it climate smart program. We've done a little bit of that. Everybody seems to be struggling to have staff to do that. So we talked a lot about that. People in Canada are further along with waste than we are here. And everybody seems hooked on electric, of which everybody acknowledges there isn't enough and the grid can't carry enough. So there's plenty of challenges to be worked out going forward. What I was most interested in, and I was on a panel to discuss, was the Army Corps of Engineers Coastal Resiliency Study. This was approved by Congress in 2016 and finally funded by the 8 Great Lakes states and the federal government start last fall. So it is underway. Brigadier General Kimberly Peebles, who as of today is the leader of the Detroit region of the Corps, was on the panel along with somebody from the Illinois Department of State, much like New York State's Department of State. And our session was moderated by Heather Strait from the IJC. The goal was to find out what the Corps was planning to do and to ensure that they were going to involve communities. So there are 14 public meetings scheduled throughout this. It's a 5-year process, so they're not going to have to do something. But there's 14 meetings scheduled throughout the 8 states to get community input, grassroots group input. The goal is to identify the high priority areas in all the Great Lakes for resiliency work, identify the best ways, the alternatives for remediating different kinds of shoreline, including doing some pilot projects. In Europe and in Asia, there's a lot of different techniques used that we are not allowed to use here by the Corps themselves in some cases, and EEC in other cases or both. So they do plan to have pilot projects where appropriate along the Great Lakes to demonstrate whether those solutions work or not. The goal is to have as many natural shorelines as possible. And while rocks are sort of natural, they change the shoreline pretty drastically and inhibit access, which is nobody's real goal. So I'm sure we won't hear much for a while, but there's a lot of work going on in the background. Home rule for golf carts. Last month, we reported that there was a bill introduced in both the Assembly and the Senate. There was some pushback from the majority because they hadn't done this before. And then what really put a kibosh on it is the day before we had to have everything buttoned up, they told us we needed a more current resolution. Because our resolution was from 22, they needed one within the last 6 months. So we put it on the calendar to do this again in January. In the meantime, Sackett's Harbor is actually where I got the idea of how to do this. And they didn't submit anything, so I'll get back in touch with them, and hopefully if we both do it, it'll make it easier to get through. On parking enforcement. Last time we did give the okay to hire Gary, and he and Bill and I have met a few times since. He has the report from the Genesee Transportation Council. He also has our code, and beginning of July 1st, he will make his own observations and make notes in both the study and our code with what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. We've asked him to talk to people as they park to find out why they're parking there. And do they know about other areas to park or not? Because the report says signage is definitely some of our problem. We don't plan to write any tickets this summer. We also have to establish a process with the Sodus Town Court, which will probably happen later in the summer. He's agreed to work up to 20 hours a week, although neither of us expects he'll ever reach that, except maybe over holidays, at $18 an hour. He's budgeted 20 hours a week at $20 an hour in budget. So there's a little bit of money there. On next Tuesday, the 20th at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a ceremony to honor Private Asher Warner. He was the first soldier that died as a result of the Battle of Sodus Point. Nancy. Oh, I said January. It's July, sorry. It's a J month, but I got the wrong one. Nancy Karazinski organized this, and she is a very distant relative of Asher Warner. She did work with Harold, our historian, who cannot be there, but he was very supportive. The Coast Guard is sending a couple people from Oswego, and Brian Helming and Pam Helming, Brian Minkdalo and Pam Helming were both coming, but Brian at least has been called back to Albany. I don't know whether Pam has or not. So this will be held on Bay Street across from the church, which is where the monument is in his honor. There's a flagpole there with 3 different flags on it. And weed harvesting in the bay started this week by the county, which is not around docks, but in the travel lanes. There are 2 harvesters that will be in Sodus Bay from now until September 1st. There are 2 other harvesters that will move around. I think right now they're south of the Bay Bridge. Bill?
The only thing I've got is basically what David just talked about with the parking officer. Gary and I are going to get together and we're going to go around and look at places that are difficult spots where we need to. So if anybody has any ideas where you'd like to see us go take a look, so Gary can come up with a kind of a game plan. Hopefully this weekend, I think, as a matter of fact, I think maybe tomorrow night. So just send me a fax or a text or whatever, where you think we should be looking. I mean, obviously there's the Main Street downtown with the sidewalks and the short streets and that kind of thing, but he wants to get a better grasp. He wants to get a better grasp for our parking officer to see the places that we really need to concentrate on the most and initially. So that's all I got.
Jennifer?
No, I'm hoping we're passing the remote meeting policy this evening. I don't have anything else to add at this time.
Okay, fine.
All right, the ambulance, currently at 210 responses for the year. That's 86 more responses than last year. Just keeps climbing and climbing. Also, The new ambulance is in service and they've had 8 responses so far, actually make that 12 based on what Bill told me just prior to the meeting. They do have another new application for membership here and he's been in for 23 years with Stack, so it's like we'll go ahead with him. So we'll be adding another member to the ambulance. He just, they'll just give it to you right here.
To approve that?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we have
Yes,
to
it
put
has
that
to
on a
be.
separate agenda or they'll just give it to me.
Right now.
You have to make a motion.
All right, well, based on what I see in the recommendations I see from the people on the ambulance corps, give you guys a second to look at that.
He's a driver is what he is.
You want to add any color to that?
No, because I did on the. There's when we talked to him and did an interview and that kind of stuff with him and, like I said, he's like, Bud says, he's been doing this for 20-some years and, hasn't had any issues and with Stack slowing up and kind of evaporating, he wanted to stay involved and came to us and said, I'd like to be a driver, so that's the main thing.
He's the one we talked about this week, or?
No, this is a different one.
Different.
Yeah, this is a different one.
You wanna look at that?
John Smith.
He's supervisor at Burger King. That's what he does for a living. He's got the way his times work out. He's pretty good in the afternoon he showed up to several already on mutual aid side of it. So, yeah.
You do a check on all of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm good.
At the very least, we go to members of their agency or whatever. And if we really think if it's somebody that's new and hasn't been involved before, we will go to the sheriff's department and go that route. But we
He's
have,
already been.
yeah, he's been vetted. Yeah. And the young man there a week ago or whatever, he's been done through Wallington Fire Department. So that's pretty easy too. But it's when they just come in out of the clouds that you want to check a little bit and make sure that they're covered. So, or that they're checked up.
So you can make.
Yeah, so based on everything I see in the recommendation of Bill and everybody in the crew, I make a motion that we accept John Smith as a new member to the Sodas Civil Waters Ambulance.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill, just oh, grab me. Okay, that's done. On the highway, highway department, we got the flower baskets hung last week. Thank you to the village of Sodas for their help. 2 newest employees, the 2 part-timers we got, Fred and Camden, are working out well and helping them complete the long list of the little things that need to be done. They've got a lot left coming weeks. Things they're gonna be doing is crack sealing, striping, black topping, brush grinding, things of that nature. The next brush collection is set for June 26th. Also, they've been getting a lot of questions lately on the compost pile. The fact that it's moved next to the water plant on Featherly Drive. So people need to know where to go for that. And the lighting contractors are back to fix lights on the 21st of June, and they will address as many of the parts as they allow.
But did you have any updates on Sill Shore Road as far as pumps and whatnot, or?
I've gotten nothing back on that yet.
I know they pumped again this week. Brad gave me a summary early part of June. And I think we had about $3,500 in overtime and fuel out of pocket. And over 300 and some hours on the pump, that if you use the FEMA rate, comes out to $20-some thousand. But we've gotten 2 of 4 temporary easements back. Matt is working with an attorney on another. And that's kind of where we are. The petition for dedication went out today to everybody, so everybody will get their email.
There, we got one back from Nikki already. She thought it's my house.
How
That's the question.
about the Sill Road repair? Is that on the docket? What?
Sill Road is a town road.
I thought it was village
No, it's a town road.
where Jen lives.
That little section belongs to the village. And I know that's on Brad's list to worry about when he pays.
Okay,
But Still Road belongs.
it wasn't Jen that brought it to me, it was the laws that live next door to. It's a big,
Yeah, it's a mess.
yeah, okay,
Nobody
okay.
disagrees. We tried to do it with.
I asked Jen yesterday, is it a
the
mess?
Equipment we have in Windsor.
Just drive down there.
It needs to be ground and paid.
Okay, sounds great.
Is that something we need to get with the town of Source then?
No, because that part of the road belongs to us.
And the rest of Still Road is actually not in the condition that our portion is in.
But you're on buildings, right?
Yeah. So,
Mr. Williamson at the caucus the other night mentioned that we need a power wash and our access stairs and handicap place in front of the hall, the village hall, power wash. And then
stains, and that's
stain.
all on Brad's list to do in the summer. You go to his office, he's got a whiteboard full of all the
I
things.
talked to him on the phone this week.
yeah, that's why, well, that's one of the reasons we got the two kids helping out doing some of the other things too. So that. they
Fred's a
can
kid.
I say that because I know Camden and it just, he comes to
I
mind.
did tell you,
Like-
I saw Fred the other night. He is loving what he's
He does
doing.
love
Yes.
And it looks it.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
beautiful.
he's very happy, so.
So
Crazy kid.
I have to say something next time I see him.
Lori?
Greg?
I have not done much with CEC since 3 weeks ago when we met. But I did put out a word today, actually, trying to bring a committee together to study where we want those EV stations and whether those are the ones we want. On the Parks Commissioner or Parks, the first thing I'd like to do is recognize Bob Jones. Bob has done a masterful job covering for Alice while she's been sick. And I'd like to thank the ambulance corps for the good job that they did.
Very well.
That was a pretty traumatic thing for all of us. But she's doing well. In the meantime, Bob and his staff have not missed a beat. Jane Ornt came back and Linda Michelson, they're all covering. And they asked me today if they should work the 3rd and the 4th they had last year. I said, whatever you did last year, you should do. And he said, well, it's a little different way that the holiday fell. I said, do it. If there's something wrong, let me know. So I'm telling you ahead of time, so you have a chance to let me know, so I can let them know if we should do something different. And how would you like me to do that? Is that okay? I mean, they know there's a budget. Or should
I don't know the budget off the top of my head.
Okay, how about if
I'm
I,
just adding Monday and Tuesday.
yeah, we're
It
fine.
shouldn't be a problem.
He didn't think it would be over $200, so. Okay. On the playground committee, that went fabulous, the last one. We're making lots of headway. We will be meeting. BNL will be coming July 3rd to make a presentation to the community. Sharon did a great job facilitating it along with Andy Walsh, who is there from the playground committee that we're working, or playground contractor that we're working with. I have finished the minutes, but I don't think I sent them because it's not in this report. So we do have them. On the LWRP, Sharon is preparing a reimbursement request and a semi-annual report due to the state in early July. The consultant and Sharon have a Zoom meeting with the state representative on June 27th to discuss the state's timeframe for the review of the draft document once it's completed. And then on the business council, I was glad to see that on the agenda after speaking with some of the business members in the community over the last few weeks. They'd like to see us bring that back. So that's a good thing. I guess one existed many years ago, but that was before my time. Sharon, did you have anything you wanted to? We're going to meet our timeline. It's believed as far as BNL is concerned, and that's it. And on the BNL, do we know what time that is yet, Sharon, that they're coming?
No, I think we all have to coordinate that. I'll reach out to them again. Lori.
Okay.
And I think probably the playground committee should maybe also just have a little chat among yourselves about what you think is the best time
Okay,
for them to come out on the third.
And please make sure we know what the other activities are that day. I don't know them off the top of my head.
I don't either.
Yeah, and this is gonna be like it was for the LWRP, where there's a table at a site to be determined, maybe the lighthouse or down in Willow Park, and people can come, for a number of hours and discuss the plan with, members of the playground committee, with the consultant. There'll be interactive materials and, we'll get the view of the residents of the village about what the playground committee is planning.
Thank you.
Kevin?
For the month of May, I had 12 building permits issued. Planning and zoning were very busy. Total fees generated was $1,335. Total year for June to May was 86 building permits. And total fees generated for the year was $13,991.10. And this has, if anyone wants it, this is all the year's activities for everything.
That's busy. Awesome, thank you. Public comments, first in the room. Dave?
Last month's meeting, I had the opportunity to speak and I'm sorry that we did not have a full complement of our board. So my comments tonight initially are to Ira. It is apparent that we seem to have a pattern here. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, same as I asked last month. And again, are you the public communication officer to the village of Porter Point?
No.
Are you in charge of the ambulance?
Am I in charge of the ambulance?
Or yes.
No, I am the technical commissioner, yes.
And what about the highway department?
Yes.
May I ask? Last month's meeting is of course absent, but you also failed to even pick up bid specs for any of the equipment that was being bid on as the highway representative for this board. Is that correct?
I was not notified that they had them going out, so I wouldn't know to pick them up.
You were called repeatedly and told that they were available at the village.
No, I was not, Dave.
Well, I'm sorry, but sources that I've talked with say that. So let me just go on.
Yeah, this doesn't need to happen.
I'll respectfully answer your questions, but I'm not gonna get into a war over whether or not I was called.
Okay, let me ask, last year, were you present for a meeting on May 31st, which was the end of your board meeting?
I'm gonna set a timer right now.
Yeah, I do not remember if that particular date.
About October 20th, monthly board meeting again. Were you present for that meeting?
I don't recall.
It's in the minutes.
Yeah.
You can record the
Yeah.
minutes.
Were you there for December 5th organizational board meeting?
You're asking me about dates that I don't remember, and the point to your questioning is what, Dave?
You have consecutively discussed, going backwards, 16 consecutive meetings about the project that Sill Road that is, and I have copies of the surveys that show that this is on property not owned by the
You're
village.
officially.
And what is what is the point of your question?
Well, let me give you a simple.
What is the bottom line you're getting at?
Well,
You know that we.
Last month, we had $4,000 that we were to be notified if we exceeded that amount. To date, we've expended $26,733. Have you, in charge of the highway department, of most of that work was for work performed by the village and also for pumps and fuels and for a private contractor? I thought we were supposed to get notified after $4,000 were expended. You stated that last month.
That was for
Wasn't
up
here
until
last
that
month.
Tuesday.
Up to
Okay.
that-
He wasn't even here last
No,
month.
I said that.
I'm
He
sorry.
pointed to me.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I understand you don't know my name and that I'm one of the girls.
Lori, I've known you for a bit.
Yeah, I've known you for a long time too.
Okay, so all I'm asking is how is it that as taxpayers, we were to be notified after $4,000 had been expended?
You
and
were,
today we
you
spent-
attended the meeting that we discussed it at the next meeting, and it would be in the minutes of the January meeting, of which I'm not sure which Thursday, it's the third Thursday of the month. And in that meeting, we unanimously decided to continue the pumping.
With what up, with no budget?
It was in-kind service and borrowed pumps.
That's
We
not
had-
right. The fuel and other items.
Well,
That's 2 minutes.
Let's not, let me say this. You as a board, or the three of you as board, have made decisions without proof of ownership of who owns the road. I have surveys here showing that their deeds travel directly through both sides of the road, and we don't own that road. Okay, so before you go any further, next month, I'd like to see where you have proof that we.
I sent you a letter with much of the proof. It was
Well, I
a
want the
very
public-
nice
I
letter.
want to have the.
I will be happy to provide the same letter to the public with all the information we have. And the attorneys, do you want us to spend a lot of money on an attorney to come here and discuss that with you? Because we probably
We have a
could.
village attorney who I.
We also are having a public hearing around this entire topic.
Yeah.
You can come and speak
I-
at
You
nauseam.
schedule a
but
public
you can
hearing
do
and all that, okay? It's time we stop this ridiculousness of spending taxpayers' money, people who live in this
We
village.
spent 56,000 on your circle. The people spend just as much money on their taxes down there.
But
And it
it's
is
on a
not,
dedicated highway.
this is a
It's on a
restricted
dedicated.
easement.
Okay,
Yeah, we own that.
all I do is I say, you need to get a copy of this survey that we paid $2,000 for as a village that shows
This is your
that.
We're
meeting?
done.
This
It's
is your
on.
meeting day?
We're done.
Thank you, David, I do appreciate your.
Any other comments in the room?
I have a question.
Okay.
I know you all know who I am, and you know where I live. You know the Porter house that has been condemned. What is going on? I can tell you what's going on, but tell me first where it's going from here.
What am I allowed to say?
Yeah, at the last court appearance, he wasn't present because Mr. Allen wasn't present because he was in the hospital.
Right.
And I'm not sure if he's since been released. There's another court date on it.
He's been released. I've been in contact with him, his wife, his son, stepson, and it's not a good situation that's going anywhere. Now, the
Okay.
house is boarded, it's supposed to be condemned. He has been in that house day after day.
And they're allowed to go in and out to clean?
Are they?
Yeah, they're just not
Or
allowed to
he's
stay,
cleaning.
they're not allowed to stay overnight. No one can
He's
spend.
not cleaning, I
Can
know that.
sleep in the
He's
house. They
staying.
go in to clean.
I've been told by a board, somebody that you all know, my neighbor across the street, that he's been sleeping in his car. My husband has observed him doing that also. He left his 3 animals that I know of in the house. I have talked to his wife, his daughter, his son, they come over to my house, talk to my husband and I. Yes, we're gonna get it cleaned up. In the meantime, we have a bazillion hornets in the backyard. There's critters. They come on my property. We know there's critters that come at night. I've seen them. The neighbors have seen them. I went to his back door to check the cat dog door. And there's a huge crow in there dead. There was piles of feces there. What is gonna happen? And he didn't show up to court before. He's not gonna show up now. He's not a sound mind, obviously, or the house wouldn't be in that condition. But how many more years do my husband and I have to live within feet of a house that is a health hazard, a fire hazard? Really, how many more years do we have to live next door to this?
Doesn't it go to court next week again?
He won't show up.
June 24th, I think, right? Is that the date?
I gotta look at my phone, but it sounds about right.
Might be the 28th, I'm not sure.
So
28th.
tell me what's gonna happen. And I'm concerned about the animals that he has left there. They're always at my back door.
So if there's any
Feedback.
animals, I'm not an ACO, so I don't know. I would contact the SOTUS dog warden. I think it, Scott, is it Robert?
It's cats.
Yeah, Robert does cats, dogs, and then he can contact cruelty officers, because I think there's rules with condemned houses. I'm not ACO, so I don't know.
You
It's
know,
under
it's
Ag and
one thing-
Market.
It's one thing when he's home.
Mhm.
But it's not gonna happen. And I'm just concerned, where my husband and I are living next to a fire hazard. It's a health hazard. We've seen rats in the backyard, mice, possums, skunks, raccoons. They all potentially can carry rabies. I have a little granddaughter within yards, feet of all this. There's hornets in the backyard. There's propane tanks in that garage, and they're, it's just, his family was there that first weekend that he got out of the hospital, and we feel awful. We've offered him help over the years. It's a shame that we couldn't hear him that night that the air conditioner fell on him. He was there for 2 days with an air conditioner on him. And we knew something was wrong. It just took a while to get the sheriffs there. I mean, my husband and I don't wish him, we wish him well. And my family has offered help numerous times. But what do we do now going forward?
I think this is legal.
Go to court on the 28th and testify before the judge, and that will hopefully prompt them to take action then.
Well, the judge has already found him guilty, so to speak, and is imposing.
I sent the
fine.
emails already and
Okay.
pictures. So now what? On the 28th, he's not gonna show, I don't think he's
Yeah.
gonna show up.
So he's being fined, or there's other potential avenues that the village board discussed last month. I'm not sure if we could discuss it again in executive action about
Yeah, I think we
potential
need to.
action by the village. So I mean, there is work, we are working on it.
I have neighbors on Third Street that are telling me they're seeing these vermin in their backyard.
If you could, but if you could provide me his family's contact information, I would appreciate that.
We have that. And his wife, even though they're separated, her name is on that property, so she is legally responsible. I talk to her regularly, and I get lip service. My husband and I got lip service from them for 20 years. But now it's at
Okay.
the point where it's a real fire hazard and a health hazard.
Well, we're gonna take this to executive session because we get into the legal part that could put the village in a liable state. So, what, you have our word on it, that we'll get, but we have a shot.
So you want me to leave his wife's number with you?
Yeah,
I
that'd be
can
great.
do
I'm more interested, well, his wife is fine, but I'm more interested in, you said that you had his children there, it sounded like you were.
His son Dak was there, his stepdaughter Rachel was there.
Anyone that we can.
Yeah, they were in,
His stepson, I have been told he's been kicked out of a numerous number of family residences, family homes in the last couple of weeks due to the
Okay.
things that he does.
and they were offering, well, they're claiming that they'll clean it up, obviously they haven't yet, but. So if you provide me their information, I can talk to them and see if I can explain to them the immediacy of why they need to do that.
Yeah, because at this point, my husband and I are starting to look into lawyers to, we've lost our property value.
Yep.
We couldn't put the house up for sale a couple of years, not Nicole told us. It's devalued our property, and it's loss of enjoyment of our residents is what it's called. So we're looking at legal avenues right now. We're hoping we don't have to do that. And I'm looking to you, we're looking to you for some type of resolution. And I can't imagine, I know that they're talking about where our son are leaving the house to the children. They all have little kids. They can't
Yeah,
clean up
I
that.
think we have the information, and we'll discuss it later in the meeting. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
And Matt, we can reach out to Marilyn if we need.
All right, anybody on Zoom?
There's more people in the room that have
Thank
something
you.
else. to say.
May I pass these out?
Sure.
One copy for each side of the table.
My name is Charles Dwayne Evans. I live at 8437 Sill Road here in Sodas Point. And I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on this because trustee Rodriguez already brought it up. Thank you, Lori, and Mayor McDowell has already said that work is in progress and there's a plan, so thank you for that. But I did just want to kind of give some history. This is about the section of Sill Road that there's really just 2 driveways on it. It's just in the edge of the village. And it's been in disrepair for a long time. The last patch job was done in 2021. And after that was done, you'll see some photos in there that represent that patch job. We requested a more permanent fix, and my neighbor Scott Law and Don Sill, myself, we signed temporary easements for the village to give them permission to come in and do the repair work. That temporary easement was for a year. The year came and went, no work was done. And the copies of 2 of those temporary easements are in there. I don't have a copy of Don Sill's only because hers was signed and delivered directly to the village. And I have pictures of the current condition of the road. This last winter season, the snow plows were brutal. There are huge gouges, deep potholes. The road is becoming more impassable with each passing year. So I'm just here to, kind of formally request that the village revisit this. Please consider doing a proper repair job on the road. That's
It was included in our budget.
yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Others in the room? Sharon?
Just gonna give a quick explanation in case the question comes up that you're having a public hearing for the water system on, I think it's July 20th, this is a resolution early in the agenda. But there's also going to be a public meeting about the water system on June 28th. Now, the difference between these 2 things is that a public hearing, every member of the board has to be present. It's got to be done by the village board. A public meeting is dedicated to the issue. And I mean, even though you all don't have to be there, it would be great if you were. The reason we're having a public meeting is because every year we put this grant application in. Every year we have a debrief with the state. Every year they tell us they can't find anything wrong with the application. And every year they make a suggestion for a minor improvement. So this year their suggestion was have a dedicated meeting for people to come in and talk about the water system. And so that's what we're going to do. In effect, we're just kind of still in line for this money. We just have to keep submitting and submitting. So there's nothing wrong with the application, but we got to do 2 things this year: a public meeting and then a legal public hearing that requires a notice in the newspaper and proper timing of notifications and all that stuff. So that's the difference between the 2, in case there was some confusion.
And at the public meeting, we'll review what we know to be potential issues and ask the community if they're aware of anything else.
Yeah.
When will the board get a list of those potential?
We've talked about them before. I have a presentation prepared or in draft that I can share.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and they're all, I again, don't remember if I passed the application along to all the members of the board every time I submitted it, but the issues are listed in narrative form in that application.
We have a high water loss ratio. We have 9,000 feet of old pipe that was not replaced in 2009, 2010. We have old water meters that are probably not accurate. We have low water pressure in the heights. We have single point of failure for water that's delivered to the village down Lake Road. Those are the primary issues. They're not new. They've been around for a long time.
When in that water system, didn't we like sign a mortgage for 38 years or something like that? Was it 38?
Yeah, I think you put in about 22,000 linear feet of new or replacement water line. Now that, what was that, 15 years ago or something like that?
2009 and 10.
Yeah, and but it didn't cover the whole village.
Right.
Unbelievable. That's half our life.
Did everybody, any questions? Okay.
No, we gotta have water.
Thank you. Others? Yes, Damien?
Hi, Damian Whiteman. I'm just 2 doors down from Marilyn, so I can corroborate the things that she's saying about the health and fire safety issues at Eddie's house. Two questions for you. You're gonna take this to executive session. I understand that. Is there a way for you to come back to the neighbors to say, here's what we can do, or here are the next steps? Before we get together again openly next month?
We may have to come back into open session after executive session. The two things that I already had on the agenda are things where we could decide to take action. So we'll probably turn the camera off and mute everybody and have our executive session, have you guys leave, and then we'll probably come back into open session. I can't guarantee that. And if we don't, yes, we'll certainly get back in touch with you with whatever the plan is.
Okay, yeah, I just, as long as we can get some information maybe sooner rather than later, that's
Yeah.
helpful. And to the question of if he is sleeping in his car at night, and we know he's not supposed to be staying there. What are our, I think I know the answer, but what do we do at that point? Call 911? Is there something else that can be
Well, where
done?
is the car? Is it in his driveway? Rob,
Yes,
and you could try calling 911. I'm not sure there's much they could do if he's sleeping in his own car.
right. So it's the house that's condemned. He could be sleeping anywhere else on the property, in the garage, or in the car, or in the front yard, and that's okay.
I can review the language of our
Yeah,
camping laws. We have the RV law, and review the language and the zoning to see what it says.
yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. I would honestly reach back out to Aging and Youth.
Yeah, have you tried adult protective
Yeah.
services or anything like that?
I have called the adult protective.
So have I, several times.
Office of the agent.
All right.
The Department of Health.
I know we called them though with that, the house, we haven't called them before on the car, sleeping in a car. That's why I wonder.
It's not every night, but I've been told by James Taylor that they have observed that.
Yeah, and so again, if we can have a better understanding of what to do next, because I don't know, calling 911 is kind of a typical answer for things. I don't know that gets us any further here. So anything else that, maybe Maryland's a conduit, buy in, but as long as we can get information and know what to do, sort of.
I think as you have observations that are unsettling, 911 should, regardless of what they are.
Right.
And our communication back to them is going to be Matt to Maryland or one of us to Maryland and other resident. What is that gonna look like?
I just texted you his wife's number. And
Okay, I just saw that. Okay.
So it's up to Matt, yeah, or
Okay.
Dave.
Somebody needs to own that
Yeah.
communication.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any others in the room? Okay, anybody on Zoom, feel free to unmute yourself. All right, hearing none, I will close public comment. The first order of old business is to approve the remote meeting procedure policy. Lori shared with us slightly amended version this afternoon, and I'd like us to discuss number 9 in here, the potential change.
You want me to go over the change that I had?
Yeah,
It-
right, good idea.
It says in there clearly that we can't mute another revision to this law, that we cannot mute the people out during the open session. And so in the meeting etiquette, it says for the members of the board, what I did was take the same 2 sentences that we had for meeting etiquette for the board members and put it for the public attendees. Attendees will be responsible for muting, unmuting themselves. Attendees must stay muted when not speaking. Same thing. That's the only thing. And that took care of it. And somebody had already changed the 24. Yeah. So number 9.
Number 9, display of documents. Says provide a link on the public website, implying everybody. And we really do it for the trustees via email, and it's 72 hours in advance.
Where is it?
Number 9.
Number 9. On page 2.
Display
This
of
is all
documents.
supporting documents for the public meeting. Is that what this is, or any public meeting?
It says all documents that will be reviewed and or acted on for the virtual meeting
Right.
should be placed on or link provided to the public website 24 hours before the meeting. And our practice has been, we send them via email
And they,
to all the trustees 72 hours.
and that's what it should be. I think that was the 72 that I. was
Wanted
talking
24.
about.
So you wanna modify that 72 hours
Yeah.
before the meeting?
And we say trustees.
Okay.
We should say email, we should say what our practice is, email to
Yeah,
the
okay.
trustees.
So 72 hours before the meeting, do an email to the trustees.
I looked through it and compared it to the most recent update on Nikon and we hit everything.
Yeah.
So. Good policy.
It's a 90-day policy. Took 90 days to get here.
I moved. What do we call this? I moved that
You
we,
make the motion or?
Lori, please, go ahead.
Yeah. I moved that we approve the remote meeting procedure policies. And
With the modifications that we just agreed on.
with the 3 modifications.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next order of old business is the Gary Gray hiring details. As I mentioned, we budgeted 20 hours a week. Actually beginning on Memorial Day to Labor Day. At $20 an hour, start July 1st at $18 an hour or up to 20 hours a week. Probably not work 20 hours much at all.
So you have this outlined in here, but you're saying he's not gonna do any ticketing.
Correct.
So people that are parked across people's driveways or on sidewalks are not going to ticket any of them?
We are not going to ticket. The sheriff will be called and the sheriff will ticket those.
So Gary will call the sheriff.
Yes.
Okay. Just because that was my
If you
premise with the whole parking thing was that we weren't blocking people's
If you park
property.
in front of a hydrant on a sidewalk or across the driveway, Gary will call the sheriff and the sheriff will come ticket, and we confirm that with the sheriff this week.
Do we need to make a motion
Yes.
regarding the description update for Gary? And you're
You need to
paying
make a
$2
motion.
less or?
We need to make a motion to $18 an hour, 20 hours.
What do we hope to get out of this? Is there gonna be a plan, a detailed plan that we can approve at the end?
There'll be an update to our parking code along with a detailed plan of how parking enforcement will work
And
in the future.
how hard is it gonna be to change that code?
Shouldn't be hard. I
So-
can't predict what the responses will be, but it shouldn't be hard.
I guess I'm struggling with that we're gonna be able to change this code, but we can't change the garbage code easily.
Well, we can. This board is the one that gets in the way of doing that. So it all depends on how we react when we get the draft.
So well, the 141, the problem with the 141, part of it we could pass. We don't want to pass all of it. And you want all or nothing. And if this is gonna be something like that, then there's really, I'll stand in the way on this too. If you can't show us a result for it, or how we're gonna get to point, so that next year we can ticket if necessary, that we can have parking spot, our parking problem should be much better if this goes into play.
Yes, I agree. And I see no reason not to do it. I'm not blocking 141. If somebody wants to bring a
So
short
if I
version
wanna-
of that,
If I want to bring in a shoe-in version of the garbage,
as long as the planning board says, okay, bring it here.
It's not us.
so we have to take it to the planning board first.
There's a state process that requires planning board.
And we did that already. So the planning board did not act on what we sent back. Because we sent back a garbage plan. And we were told they couldn't do it. Now, so now how do we get that? If the
They
planning
haven't
board,
refused to act. on it. They-
well, according to the state law,
Said that we're waiting until.
yeah, but the state law says 10 days they had, just like they gave us 10 days. We complied with the 10 days. And then it was nothing. And so there was an inaction. So we didn't block for 141. They're blocking 141. We're ready to pass the garbage law.
That, which is different than 141. Garbage is included in 141. We
Right.
can break it out separately.
That's what we want. That's what I'm asking. Can we break that out separate?
Ask me.
Yes.
And
But
do we,
could I-
Love yes.
Could I comment on that?
yeah,
I mean, you can see, we're so busy right now. This is our busy season. That's why we don't act on laws. Like planning, we don't develop laws in the summer.
well,
We discuss them in the fall and the winter. It's not because we're trying to hide things. We're just so busy. Like,
But most of the community leaves and then they don't.
I
get a
know,
chance
but that's
to
why we
chime in.
have Zoom, that's why we do all this, and then we reach out
We
and
did this in March, wasn't it?
in the winter.
And so it was, our portion was done.
Uh-huh.
And if there was a portion that wasn't liked, we should have had something back.
Yeah, I would talk to Bruce. I mean,
I did.
I honest to God, when we have six, because six is my cap
Because
for planning and
we're sitting here now with a 3-year garbage problem that we shouldn't have on some of the numbered streets. And so one of those would take care of it.
understand. Yeah, talk to Bruce and see if we can get it on. I mean, like even the one coming up is gonna be busy and we only have 3 applications. It's just,
Yeah.
we're so
No,
busy with
I do,
projects.
I get that.
Yeah,
Is there
if they
any-
have to do a special meeting, just talk to Bruce and see if they can get everyone for
Okay.
quorum. It's just, it's not that we're hiding things, it's just we truly are busy.
I'm not, I didn't say.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
And
not
the
saying that.
notion that we do things in the fall and the winter to hide things from people is ridiculous, because
I didn't say we were hiding it.
that's why we do Zoom. I didn't say that you did. That's why we have Zoom, that's why we have the shoreline, that's why we have our website. So we try to make all the information available to people. And honestly, now that we have a Facebook page that's operating, that population should be able to easier find things.
And the other thing with the parking officer, the object of that right now is to make it educational.
Yeah. and I-
Educate the people that are coming into town or our locals that are here and say, listen, you know, a lot of them were the ones that were screaming and hollering about people parking on the sidewalks, and they're parking on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So that's not the only issue, but that's what we talked about the other day. That is the number one priority right now, is to find the distressed areas. Take a look, see what we can do, and talk to people.
I'm all over it. This
Yeah.
is a great idea.
And
If
talk
we
to
come
people.
out with something concrete
Yeah.
to plan.
We will have an updated plan or updated code this fall for us to add.
Yes.
So Bill,
Go
are you
ahead.
collecting that data from Gary and some? of
Gary
those,
and I are
or-
gonna, tomorrow night, Gary and I are gonna start by watching on a Friday night for a couple hours to see where the issues are, depending on how busy it is. They're talking rain all day tomorrow, so probably gonna be a slow night. But yes, I'll be working with Gary and as well as the mayors into the return on this as well. Just to find the areas that need to be worked on and number them, you know, A, B, C,
So
D.
you're gonna
This is-
collect it? and
Yes.
you're gonna- Okay.
Yes, Gary is. Gary's the one that's gonna collect that and then pass it on to the accordion or to the appropriate people.
So back to the description of Gary's position, which was the original topic, right?
We have a motion.
I move that we,
With the updated job description and rate.
yes,
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
All right, moving on to new business. First is our public hearing resolution on water system. Resolved, the village of Sodas Point Village Board will hold a public hearing to discuss community development needs and possible submission of one or more community development block grant applications for the 2023 program year. Be it further resolved, the public hearing will be held on July 20th, 2023, 6:15. Excuse me, in the Village Hall at 8356 Bay Street.
question, why doesn't this say anything about water in it?
Because when you do a community development block grant public hearing, you have to, the folks that, the rules of the program say that you have to allow people to speak about all community development needs.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's one of the it's really a community development block grant public hearing, even though we have to have, I would bring a copy of the application with me, because not only do they ask you about, tell you to do this in terms of all community development needs, but then they also tell you that the specific application you're applying for, you gotta bring to the meeting. To me, it doesn't make sense, but you know, I'll do whatever they want.
This is the same process we followed when we
Okay.
got that grant, the community development block grant, that was over for that.
We need a motion.
Need a motion on the,
I make a motion that we set up the date for the,
Public hearing
there you go, thank you.
for the CD.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
You. Next is the EMS staffing contract. Boilerplate from year to year. There's no salary increase in this. And quite comfortable in justice.
Yeah, Tom, like I was gonna do it, sort of like Jamie. I wanted to talk about potential staffing change. And just didn't bring up Kathy's or something. So,
I think we got a letter.
oh,
Yeah.
you did
Yeah, we
great.
got it.
So, Chris, I want to talk about the advantages, disadvantages, and thoughts to that to the village. Currently, we have a paid medic, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that is a capped crew. So when we get toned out for a call, we, Wayne County will, well, and a volunteer doesn't step up to complete that, make a full crew. Wayne County will ask the mutual aid from another town to come in and help. If we don't have mutual aid, then Advanced Life Support, ALS, Wayne County, ALS will come to complete that crew. And we don't always need Advanced Life Support, but we just need a driver. So what we're considering is putting on another person to drive or to medic. And some of the advantages to that is quicker response time, better patient care. We can avoid being canceled from call because if we don't have a full crew and ALS isn't available, mutual aid isn't available, we will be canceled. And we get passed by for other mutual aid. So we have the potential to avoid using valuable Wayne County ALS to complete our crew if we have one. So we have the other potential we have is to get more calls, and more calls is more revenue outpaid for the new ambulance. So the disadvantage is that there's a cost impact. When we put on the other personnel, it will cost, and we're thinking about doing this for 3 months, June 15th to September 15th for a trial to see if this will be beneficial. And that'll cost approximately $11,390, including all the insurance and miscellaneous fees. The Silver Waters membership is willing to contribute $4,000 to the expense. We'll take it out of our donations and membership fund to help offset that. If we have a full crew, then we don't always need ALS, and we pay $100 for every ALS call that comes in. Last month, we had 46 ALS responses. Now, I work the numbers based on last year's numbers, and if we can avoid 25 to 30% of those ALS calls, that's approximately 31 times 100, $3,100. So now we have our $11,000 expense down from 4 to 3. So we're down to $4,000, which is what the village would be exposed to. Now, these are estimates, so potentially you're exposed to 7, depending on the ALS that we can avoid. So there's uncertainty in this, but we want to do it for a trial run because right now, Silverstown Ambulance is in a little bit of disarray. And we had 46 calls last month. We've generated the most income, I think, in any year since we've been in business so far. We're, according to Tracy's numbers today, we're approximately $6,000 in the black. So, not counting the last month. And we show maybe a little bit more than that. So there's uncertainty, but this is the best time for us to try to do this if we're going to do it. And I understand it's an expense to the village. We may find that providing a full crew, we can provide better coverage to the village at little to no expense. But we don't know that. So it's a $4,000 to $7,000 impact.
Any questions for Tom?
Tracy, do we have it in the budget?
We already passed the budget and.
Yeah.
So, if they make $6,000, does any of that come back to us?
First, yeah. Didn't we get more for the ambulance than we anticipated? from
Yeah.
before? For the trade-in?
Yeah, we
That we
did.
budgeted? I don't think we really knew.
No.
Right, but didn't we get more than we?
Well, we got $35,000. I think we
We
get,
got
we get
38.
prices from 15 to 35.
Yeah, the dealer offered us, I think,
So
12.
we
Yeah,
priced
they were-
the budget for the new one based on what?
Based on no trade.
No trade-in.
Right.
So we ended up with $35,000 more than we anticipated.
Anticipated. Yeah, so we should have money in there for this.
Could we not use that
Let's-
money towards this experiment?
Yeah,
I'd like to,
If we'd like to use it versus putting it towards that. Didn't we already get the loan on that ambulance already based
Yeah,
on terms
can
that
I-
we agreed to?
just to give you a heads up, the old ambulance went out of town today. Tracy got them all their paperwork and got everything ironed out. And it took its last hurrah riding out of Sodas Point today, okay? Went to Penfield, I'm sorry, my bad, yeah, went to Penfield. We had 2 bids. Penfield was the winner of the bid. They are ecstatic about it, but what they're doing, they have nine ambulances that they run in Penfield. They're doing what's called a remount right now. And they take the box off of an old ambulance and put a new chassis under it, remodify the box and that. What they're gonna do is use our old ambulance is a intermediate, well, the one is down, this one will take its place for a while. And when it went down the road today, it was kind of a sorry thing, I mean, it's been a lot. However, the new ambulance has been scrutinized by all the Wayne County paramedics, and they all love it. The way it's set up, the whole 9 yards. I mean, Sharon went through Holy Dickens to get everything put together, and Tracy getting numbers together. I mean, it was pretty much a whole crew doing it. My suggestion would be, and I know we'd like to get this thing going, but I'd like you to digest this. Even if you get back to us in the next couple weeks or the next week. I mean, we'd like to get it going because of the holiday coming and that. But you take a look at this paper that's here. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of Tommy.
I think you're wrong. I think we should move on it because you won't get a full. Well, if we have to do without something else, and we do without
We
something
won't
else.
ordinarily take action until July 20th, so
Yeah.
I think now is the right time.
Okay. Well, and the other thing you've got too is going to be finding somebody to work it. We talked to Paul Farah, and then, I'm sorry, Tom, I don't want to take away.
Yeah, no, but Bill's right. We don't even know if we can get the staff at 5 days.
I think we
And
have
that's
to
what
be-
we're trying to, I don't know, said, we're only looking at 5 days.
Instead of be cutting the staff.
We don't think we can staff.
Well,
But you can still budget the money for it. if you
Right, pending
do.
staff.
We can
right.
still approve it, pending.
Penny.
Yeah, the 11,000 is based on 5.
But question,
yes,
easier to build up. The 5 days is Monday through Friday,
no, the 5 days is going to be Wednesday through Sunday.
okay?
So it covers the weekend, the busy
That's good.
hours. Monday and Tuesday are kind of as far as the paperwork we got from the county, that's kind of our slower 2 days during the week. So that's what we've done there. And we can possibly cut some of this down. if we could get some volunteer drivers, that kind of stuff. And that's something we are working on right now. I mean, we got a notice, an email today from a gentleman that says, that's part of, lives in the township of Sodas, and said, you know, I'd be interested in helping you out as much as I can. So, you know, but to get it set up and get the ball rolling so we can go through the contract.
That's,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have a second question, if I may. Bigger concern is, last month it was reported our calls are up 71%. And when we were discussing previously about potentially joining a countywide ambulance service as opposed to maintaining our own Silver Waters. I was told that the benefit is that we save 10 minutes by having a response here in the village. With a 71% increase, one of our village residents, 96 years old, waited 40 minutes for a ambulance because we're now out doing all other communities. So somebody's got to address this question on a countywide basis. We're wearing out our new ambulance, covering calls for other
the
districts.
county system starts July 1st.
Yep.
It's not in operation today. It
Right.
starts July 1st.
It opens up July
And
1st.
that'll be
We're
for,
gonna have to respond until then.
the new one will be located in Sodas because they haven't broke ground.
Yes, they are putting a single ambulance in Elton Station. Starting the 1st of July to help pick up, you know, the calls in the Sodas area, and then we would be brought in as mutual aid on the other end of that.
Okay.
Okay.
So the concern that we have is, you know, if we only have a half crew, you may not be calling up.
So then do we need the person?
Well,
If that's gonna start July 1st.
Well, the Wayne County ambulance system is meant to supplement
You'll have a
small villages towns.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Without, what we've run into is with the way the county's set up is their new mutual aid system. If we don't have, like Tom explained it, if we don't have a full crew and they go out and they try to find a crew share with Williamson or Eastern Wayne or something like that, and they don't have it, then they go to the county. If the county's out busy, then what happens is they drop us and go to the next agency that has a full crew. And that's where we would lose. And it's as busy as things are around here, it could happen.
All right, so we have two things to consider. One is the normal contract for staffing services. So let's act on that first.
I move that we approve the EMS staffing contract for 2023 through 24.
What if we added, are they gonna do an amendment to this?
And then we'll just approve 6/15 through
There's a
9/15.
contingency on the other
The
motion.
letter of June 14th, refer that.
This pays for everybody, right?
No,
We can approve this.
right. That-
And then if we approve this, then this will have to be amended.
Right.
It should be.
Right,
If we can find the staff to.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so is that one motion Tracy's asking, or is that two motions?
It's gonna be 2 motions.
It's two motions. One motion on this document only.
Okay, which I second. Lori made the motion. Yeah.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right.
I move that we approve the recommendation of Thomas Pikunka to have a full basic life support staff from 6/15 through 9/15 to a tune of not over $8,000. Is that?
What would you want to count that at? Because it looks like it says 4,290.
It does, but he said it could go to 8.
It's 11,000. It's 11,000.
Oh, so we have to approve the whole 11,000?
I would
Even-
suggest it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
Okay,
But the membership is. gonna be-
Membership's paying for 3,100.
not to exceed 11,390.
It won't, you have, that still will go out and stuff, that has to, that.
11,390.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And anything happens after that, is,
Good.
you don't know.
Right, right. It's
Right.
good if it pays for itself.
so did you get that? With the
I would just
11,390?
add Wednesday through Sunday, 5 days a week.
Wednesday.
That, or-
Good
Because
job.
I think that's
Wed-
important.
Wednesday through Sunday.
It was
So
a-
Lori made the motion.
It was
I'll
a-
second it.
it was a substantial jump in cost to go 7 days. Substantial. Okay,
Highway mower funding resolution, it's just to, find the money, allocate the money for the mower that we had to replace and approved it last month's meeting. Whereas the Village of Sodas Point Board of Trustees has established a capital reserve fund for highway equipment, and whereas the Village of Sodas Point Board of Trustees has approved the 2023 PETA mower 61-inch with 38 horsepower motor for $12,400. It's hereby resolved to issue a municipal referendum for appropriating $12,499 from the highway equipment capital reserve fund for that purchase.
This is what we agreed to last. We had a trial of it first, right? We did a trial.
We have the mower, it's working great.
This is just, remember, we did define the money.
I move the resolution appropriating funds from the highway equipment capital reserve fund for $12,499 to buy an SCAG Cheetah mower 2023 61-inch with 38 horsepower for $12,499.
I'll second that.
I might have said that twice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go to breath finding approach, which Tracy has to open.
We have a bid that was after the timeframe, we did not meet the specs. Right, but this, the bid was really late and it's not in the layout of the specs, so.
We agree or we not agree?
We have two, but the one was, like.
I like this, that we open them here.
This is from Empire Enterprises for $9,850. We're not gonna cut any trees down.
That's from Empire?
Yes.
Yes, guys.
57.
What is it this year?
Same company was,
We only have one bid?
no, two.
Well, the one,
Oh, I thought you said we had two plus the one that came in late.
no, just the two.
Person that we used last year sold his dog anger. Unfortunately, there's very few people that do it.
Okay.
These days.
It's almost,
That's not, we don't have that in the budget either. We didn't budget for that.
Not by nothing much.
No, there's 15,000 in trees, which is where this comes from, so we just don't have money to cut down more than a couple trees.
And a tree falls down on its own.
We have to deal with it, and we'll,
How long can the brush sit there?
we can sit there longer this summer, but we probably have to deal with it this fall.
And
It'll be-
this is just one of those machines that chews it up and spits it back out of, right?
Yeah, it's a tough.
How much is the tub grinder?
200 grand.
A lot of money.
I'm guessing.
Are they?
Yeah.
How much are they to rent?
When you rent.
I don't know.
I'll bet you can rent one.
I'm
Somebody in the audience might help us.
My name is Joe Bartuca, I'm the president of Empire Enterprises. You're questioning the increase up there. Your pile has grown tremendously since last year, so comparing this year's quote to last year's quote. You have much more brush there this year.
It's just what's in the budget.
Yeah, no.
Considering what's in the budget, and what's
It
not
is
in the
what it
budget.
is. You were asking what those machines cost, $1.2 million.
Oh, well, I guess we can't rent one.
So
No, this is something we need somebody.
is
to
that
do.
12 months worth of grading or is it just one pile? I mean, how is it?
It's not gonna, you're not gonna gain anything by prolonging it.
Right.
You're just.
Right.
Mostly ball
I
down.
see what you're saying.
Aside from the fact that we need to push it. into
The
another
material
budget
that's
year.
there is last fall as well.
So, this is
So
one of the storms we had.
It's been a year since we ground last time, so it's about a year's worth. I mean, Brad commented almost every brush pickup in the last year about how much more brush we are picking up.
Yeah,
We do have some abusers that we're trying to identify as well.
There's a potential fire hazard there with decomposing. Decomposition.
I move that we approve the bid for $9,850 because it's in the budget and we need it.
Is there a second?
Okay, Lord, you said yes.
Yeah,
I don't think we have a choice.
no, yet.
I'll second it.
So we just said, yeah, let's just
Yeah.
know that that
Take out
goes
the
into
tree
the
cutting, no.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
No trees can fall.
All in favor?
Aye. For next year, we have to make sure we adjust our budget appropriately.
Yep. Next is surplusing the sewer. No, that comes in there. Surplusing the sewer cleaner and the John Deere mower. The sewer cleaner, is in fair condition. We've upgraded it. It's in order. You're trying to, we want to try to sell it. I think Auctions International thought we should get $2,000 for it.
The sewer cleaner?
Yes. We don't know what we'll get, but our thinking is we'll put it on. There's like, it's pretty old. We bought it from Solis, and it was old then. And we put $2,000 into it on a pretty regular basis.
Well, I know Curtis is down.
Yeah, they're doing that. The part that's not coming quick.
Yeah, we gotta start with Jared.
Okay, so what do we need to do?
So we just need to, we need to surplus the sewer cleaner so we can put it, so we can sell it. Yes.
I make a motion that we surplus the sewer cleaner.
And even though this is the mowers that we traded in.
Right, because they're doing both.
Type, yeah, there's the technicality because we traded this one. So we're gonna
So have to do the paperwork.
Yeah, so it's a trade.
Do you want two motions or one motion?
Just
One motion, yeah. I make a motion that we surplus these two assets for the documentation that Tracy is like.
I will second that. Move it, get it done, get some money, get out of
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's do that.
Read my paperwork.
Sure, John.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
it.
Next up is the community center entrance ramp quotes. Repairing the that we didn't get to repair on that summer. One is from David Brandt, general maintenance assistance for $9,850.
So everybody's $9,850.
That's for total replacement, correct?
Replace all deck boards, stair risers, handrails, yes. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's what he said, because he didn't know what it looked like underneath, so he didn't want to risk it.
All right, and
And he'll paint that too.
I believe Brad told him we would paint it.
Yeah.
I believe. When he talked to me.
Wickham House handyman, Larry Vanjie is $5,000. Remove the railings, deck cap top, repair any needed structure, replace top cap and rails.
And
That's less work.
Brad gave them the exact same outline. He said, do this. David just didn't trust what was underneath there. If the top looked like that, Larry was a little bit more trusting of it and said, you know, I'll replace what I just need to replace. So
If he gets down in there and he finds out it's more than.
might change.
Might
Yeah,
change.
it might have to, but we don't know until we start tearing stuff
He's a pretty
apart.
good woodworker from what I understand.
It's all new stock though, when you go, I don't want to go above and beyond what we're talking about, but you know, you're putting old stuff, new stuff on top of old stuff, and you still have old stuff, if you know what I mean, especially being a foundation. If you're gonna do the whole 9 yards, that's poles in the ground, that's the whole nine, I mean, that's the whole shimoly. So
Is
I
this
don't
a
know.
safety issue or is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's a
safety.
Because I know there's a lot of problems with that building, you know, just, we're gonna put a new entrance on a building that's got a lot of problems. Just a curiosity.
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, it's being used. I mean, it's
Oh, for sure.
busy,
Yeah, no,
you know,
people like it.
all the time,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, the ramp. It's blacked off for a reason, because
Yeah.
most of those boards are loose. They weren't loose last year, and this year they.
Well, I had talked to Kevin the other day, there's also, I've seen some aluminum ramps for sale. And I didn't know if that was something that we could entertain. Try to, going ahead with, purchasing materials to renovate this one. So if we get an aluminum one that fits our bill for less money, and then you don't have wood rotting.
It's up to you guys, what you want to do, just
Yeah.
ask to meet the one over, I think it's one over 20 is what that is out there, that's why.
Yeah, whatever the code or spec is for that particular ramp,
And
and
I-
what the rise has to be.
Yeah, and I told Michelle told Eva and who's the other person that uses it? No, there's one other person.
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Oh, sorry.
Michelle.
She passed the word around. They just asked that it gets fixed as soon as possible, just because Michelle Cowett said no one in her group was using it, but there are people that did use the ramp.
So I'm interested in understanding the cost of.
I don't.
When I asked Brad, he said the brand new one is like 15,000.
Yeah, brand new one, yes.
I don't know where we would source a used one, but that was what Brad had told me when I asked him for aluminum. Cause I did ask him originally. Source a new aluminum one.
I like that.
That's why I worry, yeah, so like.
No, that's hard.
So, should we,
Well, like I said, it was just a thought. I mean, I know, same as we're repurposing old equipment on Auctions International or something like that. If there's a municipality that's got something available, should we look at that, or should we just drive
If we
forward?
know where to look, yes.
didn't you
But
just
I
put a
don't-
ramp
I
on the
don't remember
house?
the-
I did it though.
You built it or you
I built
bought?
it because it's just temporary. I hate to say that with my father in the house, but it is
Yeah, but it'll get you through it.
going to be temporary.
When's the last time we replaced this?
It's a long time.
Way before my time. I've been
Yeah,
here for
it's got a
7
long
years.
life.
So some-
And way before that, because Brad's been here 7
It's
years.
always
he's
been like
remembering.
that. I've been here since two
So the thing
thousand
is,
six.
where in the budget would we get the money to?
Buildings.
And it, money is there for repair.
Prioritizing other repairs, other places, have we, I mean, you're gonna take the $5,000 from something else, or we don't have it earmarked all the way?
We would take, whatever we decide to do here is coming out of the building budget.
Right, but we didn't spend all of it, budget, we don't have quotes for everything. for the buildings.
No, we don't even know what all the potential projects are. There are a lot.
Right,
I'm
that's
sure
just
whatever.
priority wise, I'm just worried about.
Well, this is a safety issue, so we kind of have to do it.
Okay. I would make the motion to go with a little bit.
I don't know anything about building when it comes to the foundation of something. I know when it looks bad, I know when it's wiggly. If it's not rotten, then it's a good idea, but how do you know it's not rotten?
So you take it apart, you
We
don't.
have to take it
Well,
apart.
Yeah.
He doesn't replace whatever is damaged.
At 5,000,
Yeah,
then I second it.
in favor?
I,
All right, next we go to parking on Centel Street. Lori brought something, but before we review that, let me tell you how this came about. This is not something I have a vested interest in, despite what some may think. Bruce Carey started it, and I told him that we couldn't do it unless he and John Maxim agreed. They had some conversation, I don't know what. I do know that I have heard from John Maxim himself verbally. That he agrees and would like to know parking signs there. I've also talked to Jesse. And his attitude is I'm screwed no matter what, because my restaurant always looks full even when it's empty. Whether they park on Centel Street or whether they park in the Marine. And he's kind of right. So he's got no skin in the game. When there was a Facebook post asking why, rather than throw the owners under the bus, I talked about the water main issue. It is an old, very fragile water main. About 4 years ago, when we repaired a leak on Seaman Street, Centel Street broke in 3 places. Immediately after, the guys were there all night long. So we know it's fragile. Is it gonna break with cars driving over it? No. But when it does break, whenever that happens, if the cars are in the way, that's gonna cause problems and slow things down.
That could,
It may never happen, or it may happen.
that could happen on Greg Street, it could happen in front of my house, could happen anywhere.
True.
If you know, you would have to tow it away. And I know there's other leaks, but there haven't been any leaks there, and that was in the middle of winter besides. From the information I gathered. I talked to John Maxon Senior. That's who you talked to, and he told me that he never asked for no parking to be there. He would be silly to do that. He felt that the village was interested in being able to make easy repairs, and he wanted to be congenial. I think I put down what he said exactly. Would never have asked for no parking in the area. He said, you could quote me for that. I haven't written that, but he said you can quote that all over. It's since been asked, and in the spirit of cooperation, because he wants no issues with the village, he will work with his staff so that the voters will use the parking they provide. He 100% wants parking along Centel Street.
All he had to do was say that, and this never would have happened.
Well, so anyways, I went out to see if it was reasonable. And I monitored it for a couple of weeks. You'll see from the pictures, there were 24 cars parked there. They weren't harming anything. It was off to the side. You can see the fire hydrant is all set there. The stop sign, however, is in the wrong place. Because it's like way before you get to 14, you couldn't see it look both ways anyways, and we could probably get 2 handicap spots in there. We have got a real issue with parking down there. When I went and I monitored those parkings, both of his lots were full. So he had all of it by the I think they call it the harbor, the big building. And I took pictures of that. I didn't put them in here.
They don't let people park the next.
No, well, it was all roped off for parking. Somebody was parked there.
So
And now,
can't this just be something that Gary Gray?
Yeah.
no, I want a motion that says we can park there this summer while we figure out what we're gonna do with these cars. And I would like to eventually see something exactly like what we have down at the ballpark. So that it's diagonal, it'll save room. This property belongs to the taxpayers, and they should have the right to use it. It's people that come here that live here, that work here, that play. I talked to the guy that runs the place. It's a lot of senior citizens that use this parking. And you could get a lot more parking if it was at the angle. But I think the study can do it.
However, it is not the village's responsibility to provide parking for private business.
But we do for Caitlin, we do for down here, or not Caitlin, for, these are our biggest taxpayers. They support.
The Friends of Marine people parking.
Friends are, thank you,
That's
wrong name.
Just so you're aware, that's one of the things that's on the top of the list on Main Street in that downtown, with the businesses having their people park in usable parking spaces. Now, let me go a step further. The sign over on the corner by the old brewery,
Yeah,
that sign used to be in the right place. But because they proved that the corner was extended down and that was property of Trussell or whatever you want to call it, that sign never got moved. And that used to, where he just put in the dirt,
Yeah.
that used to be blacktop around there.
Sharon, are you looking for
Used to be blacktop around there, and you cut around that corner. Well, when they figured out that it wasn't public property, that's when they just never moved the sign.
okay.
But the sign needs to move down.
Yeah, the
be
sign
moved
does
down
need to
without.
move,
But-
but you can't see cars coming either way.
I think the short-term solution that Lori is suggesting is a good short-term solution while we have Gary do the monitoring. I mean, we're thinking of moving a public pier over there. I don't know how you can plan on doing that if you don't have public.
And I think the word temporary. If it comes down to it and we do this over there,
I
the
mean,
word temporary should be in there.
At least for this summer and then we can figure out what we're gonna do, whether we've gotta do the water there, whether we've got it's not gonna hurt the water pipes, that I'm convinced of, because if it hurt them there, it would have already hurt them at the Franklin house, and your little yellow car would have been going out. But I'm just trying to
We don't
say,
need to do a motion. If we don't want to put signs there, we won't put signs there. We can't enforce it anyway because it's not in our code. So even if we put signs there, we can't enforce it.
well,
And we have
I-
signs all around the village.
I know we have ordered the signs and they're in. And I
And we
want
don't
to,
have to put them up. We haven't called the stakeout yet in, which is what we need. And there is a gas line there that we're worried about too, so. And not because it's gonna break, because we'll pound the signpost through it.
we
And
don't,
I think there was another point in your document.
well,
too, and I
we're
was-
getting ready to call, we're gonna say that we have a, we're pretty sure we might get a public dock in there. It's a
The
good
Lotus
shot.
Building, right?
And or the Lotus or something like that, you're gonna have to have parking.
Agreed.
And it's private parking everywhere else, so this just gets it ready. The folks have been really good about it. I would feel a whole lot more comfortable with a motion because I hear things that say, oh, the mayor talked to them and asked them not to park there, tell their people not to park there, all these rumors around town. We need to make it flat once and for all, so I move that we allow parking on Centel Street temporarily from the stop sign relocation point to, say Harbor Road comes out,
Driveway.
and then Jesse's, they already parked there, but that actually belongs to Trestle,
Right.
but they work it out. And I don't want to involve myself in their businesses because they're doing great together.
Just from that driveway to the stop sign.
Yeah, from the driveway to the stop sign, make sure there's no stops, no signs there, that it's okay to park there.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. Next order of business is the Business Council Committee.
well, I was out visiting some of the businesses over the last month. And it kept coming up that the businesses aren't involved. They're sometimes talked to, sometimes not, but they would like to have a formal type of thing. I don't know what used to exist. That was before my time.
They
and-
used to have their own organization
Yes.
that ran. And
The business.
the businesses, the village had nothing to do with it. It was their own organization, which they can still do today.
And they came back if there was an issue
Right.
accordingly after that, but they did their own, their own thing with their own.
When we had the Economic Development Committee,
Oh,
we
okay.
talked to all the businesses about establishing this again. And there was, yeah, the Economic Development Committee just decided that it would be good if we had a business council. So we went to the businesses and asked if they were interested, and it was overwhelmingly no. If the businesses are interested, have at it. I can tell you that I bet between the office, Kevin and I, we probably talked to 85 or 90% of the businesses every year. I've talked to all the businesses, that's not true. I've talked to Jamie, I've talked to Tom, and I've talked to Tim multiple times in the last 2 months. Kevin's been working with Jerome. So we do talk a lot to them. The ones that are outside the business district, we don't talk to as much. That's
Yeah.
completely true.
Nobody comes to see me.
One of the things that I think along with the parking line is that's developing down there. We're gonna have to start addressing that. It's not just business district. The business district is extending. It, for all intents and purposes, we've had several businesses that have opened up down there
Mhm.
that weren't there before, and certainly with the new, I want to keep calling them condos, but the motorhomes.
Right, the RV park.
Yes, the RV park and things like that. It's gonna be a lot more businesses, I think.
Well, the other thing, to piggyback on what Lori's saying, what I'm thinking about is, you're saying how fragile that line is there, and if we're gonna have, for lack of a
RVs.
better- RVs, camp carry, whatever somebody's got, there's all these different things. If that's gonna be a major help, and there's gonna be a ton more water usage and whatnot, and things of that nature, should we be looking forward at potentially replacing that section of water?
That's exactly why we're doing.
That's when.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's what drove trying to get this consultant for the last 2 years. There is, because nobody wants their water rates to go up. So we have 2 ways to fund an improvement. The ratepayers or grants. To get a grant, we need a comprehensive plan that reviews our entire system, prioritizes and makes recommendations from a licensed engineer. So that's what we're trying to get, so we can go after grant money. Unfortunately, that's the process. You keep hearing there's a ton of money available, and there is, but there's not a ton of money available to do this kind of work.
Because it can't be seen to say this is development. There is a way to get more money for water to help with that, and that's to increase the rate payers, not the people that are paying now, but the campgrounds that are coming in, and anybody with a kitchen and a bathroom should be paying the same rate as an Airbnb. And we need to have a good look at that, and I'd like to see that on some kind of an open communication, because that's the one place, that's the one place that the taxpayers that live here could have a little more relief from their water bills, or maybe put it down from 38 years to 34. I'm not sure. I mean, it's crazy.
That's something that the consultant will also, is to look at all of that.
Look at all the
We
rates.
have a code that specifies how different types of customers are charged.
Well,
And it
That code
probably needs
needs
to
to
be
be raised.
reviewed. We also have out of court users who are not village residents like Fairways that pay a higher rate, but maybe not a high enough rate and things like, there are things we can look at, but we need professional to come.
I would agree with that. And if that's gonna be on an agenda, I'm all for it.
Well, that's what this grant is all about, grant request.
But if we don't get a grant to do it,
Then
we
we have
need
to talk about another way.
another way. Fair enough. I move that we pay the bills. Unless there's some other.
Okay, we can do that.
Anybody got anything else?
This one, how about this one? 389,778.44. General, $339,005.81. Water, 28,736.84, and wastewater, $22,035.79. That has the ambulance in there.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification.
So I can't vote on this one, that's okay. Can't be taken to the wall for it.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
You. All right, any other business before we move to executive session?
And the executive session is legal.
Talking about a purchase offer, we're talking about a potential lawsuit, and we're talking about, I don't know, third thing is. I know what it is by name, I don't know what it might amount to.
Okay.
So
Yes.
we're taking action on it, we're going to executive, or
We're adjourning to executive session, we may or may not take action depending on the discussion that we go.
Someone has to make a motion.
I motion that we move into executive session.
where we may or may not.
Are you inviting
So-
me or am I gone?
Second.
You can say.
Okay.
So, Brian,
So check your fire inspection. If you're one day out of compliance.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, now you want to come visit me?
No, I'm just saying, you made a comment. You're one day out of compliance.
Lori, tell them, talk to the business council.
No, I checked, because you made the comment. I can't. One day.
Camera on.
So you just need to come down?
Yeah.